Today I'm going to teach you how you can live for free by house hacking. Basically, house hacking is where you buy a house and rent out a room. But let's go into it in a little bit more detail than that, shall we? But first, drop a like down below and be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Now let's get into the video. If you do this right, you can actually get paid to live in a home that you own, and you don't have to do anything crazy like moving back in with mum or dad or living out in the woods somewhere. You can live wherever you want, for free, or even get paid to live there just by following these steps. Now effectively, the way this works is that you buy a house that has multiple rooms. For loan purposes, this is treated the same way as buying your personal home, as in, you can use a residential mortgage instead of using a buy-to-let mortgage. So obviously this comes with all the benefits of using that residential mortgage, which is using a low deposit, like 5 or 10%, and getting low interest rates and often little to no fees. So obviously buy-to-let mortgages come with the disadvantage of needing a bigger deposit, like 25%, and often come with other disadvantages like higher interest rates and higher loan fees. Also, the way that you qualify for a buy-to-let mortgage is different to a residential mortgage. With a residential mortgage, they take around 4.5 times your annual salary, and that's how much they'll lend you. But with a buy-to-let mortgage, it's based on a rental stress test. So they take the annual rent that you'll be getting for the property, or for the bedrooms, or whatever kind of property it is that you're buying to let, and then divide that by 1.25 or 1.45 if you don't have any other sources of income, and then divide that by 5.5%. So for example, on a property that you could rent for £1,000, a bank are only likely to lend you £176,000. Now, not only can you use a smaller deposit and benefit from a lower interest rate with residential mortgages, but you can actually use some of that rental income or expected rental income from letting out those rooms to help you qualify for the mortgage in the first place. Let's say you're looking to buy a 3-bedroom house and you're going to live in one of those bedrooms and rent out the other 2. Let's say you earn £50,000 a year. That means you could obviously qualify for around £225,000 in loan monies. Obviously, if you're going to rent out those other 2 bedrooms for about £1,000 a month, that's £12,000 a year, which means you qualify for an extra £45,000, meaning you could qualify for up to £279,000. But obviously, not all banks are going to use 100% of that expected rental income. They might only let you use, say, like 75% of it to add onto your salary. Or alternatively, you could use a separate lodger mortgage, even if you already own the home. Effectively, what this means is, let's say if you had a smaller salary and had to use a big deposit when you purchased your house. Or, alternatively, if you've built up some equity in your house over the past few years, but can't actually access that equity because you don't earn enough, you can use the money that you're getting from your tenants to be able to draw out an additional mortgage. That just means you're going to have some spare cash to invest in, say, another property or the stock market, or just to use a general expenditure to cover any expenses as they arise. So let's go through an example. Let's say you purchase a 3-bed house for £300,000 and use a 10% deposit, which is £30,000. You could rent those 2 bedrooms probably for about £500 a month each, and that's as a bills not included, as in the tenant pays their own bills additionally on top of that. Or you could just rent it to them for, let's say, £600 a month each, and you pay the bills. So let's use that as an example, using the £600 a month per bedroom. So obviously what you've done here is you've put down £30,000 for your deposit, and the bank have lent you £270,000 as the mortgage. The mortgage payment on a £270,000 loan is probably going to be around £900 per month. Bills on this property are probably also going to be around £300 per month for gas, electricity, water, council tax and insurance. This obviously brings the total expenditure for the property to around £1,200 per month. But remember, you're also renting out 2 of those bedrooms for £600 a month each, because obviously they're not paying for their bills, so they're going to pay a bit extra so that you can pay for the bills. This brings the total income from the property to £1,200 a month. Therefore, your net expenditure for this property each month is 0. Let me say that again. Your net expenditure for this property each month is 0. You're therefore paying £0 each month to live in and own your own home. Therefore, you're living in a £300,000 property and you've only used a 10% deposit. For all your mortgage and all of your bills, you're not paying anything. Now imagine if you used a bigger deposit as well, like 20% or even higher. your monthly mortgage payment would only be around £750 to £800. That means you'll be being paid money to live in and own a £300,000 house. Not only that, but you'll also be capitalising on principal pay down. That £900 a month mortgage that the tenants are paying for you actually benefits from a £600 a month capital pay down. This means that your wealth increases by £600 each month to live in that property, because obviously the tenants are paying down your mortgage, so there's less for you to pay at the end. If you've enjoyed the video so far, be sure to leave a comment down below letting me know what kind of videos you would like me to make in the future. Alternatively, if you've got any questions about how house hacking works or any other related questions, please drop them down below and I'll be sure to try and answer them if I can. Renting out rooms in your house actually has a bunch of taxable benefits as well. You can take advantage of the government's rent a room allowance, which is where the first £9,000 per year of rent that you receive is absolutely tax-free. Using our example from earlier, where you're receiving £1,000 a month or £12,000 a year, this means that you've got around £3,000 of income per year that's taxable. But that equates to only around about £50 a month in actual tax that you have to pay, which is obviously really little. You could also factor in capital appreciation into the mix as well. In general, the UK property market increases by around 3% per year. That's like an average of, let's say, the past 30 or 40 years, annualised down into a per year basis. But let's be overly prudent and assume only a 1% increase in the value of your property. Because of obviously Brexit and all that, the market hasn't increased by that much in the recent years. But a 1% increase on a £300,000 home is £3,000. On a monthly basis, that's around £250 a month extra that you're getting. Therefore, in total, you're being paid around £850 to £1,000 a month, depending on the size of your deposit, to live in and own a home worth £300,000. Now, my best advice would be to combine this with my buying the gap strategy. This is where you can pay considerably less for a property because it's not in amazing renovated condition. Let's say you find a road and all of the houses on this road are selling for about £300,000 because they're in a nicer renovated condition. You could probably pay around £240,000 for a house on this road that isn't renovated and is a bit ugly, has got green smelly carpets, a kitchen from the 80s and nice pink or red walls, or just something that's quite dirty, a bit grimy and not overly that attractive. You probably need to spend around £15,000 to get this property looking amazing. But that means that you've made about £45,000 profit before you include, legal fees, loan charges, stamp duty and other kind of costs. But you made around £45,000 profit and all you've really done is renovated the property and get it looking nice, ready to rent and ready to live in. You also get the benefit of PPR relief, which is Principal Private Residence Relief. This is where, because you're living in the home, you pay zero tax on any profits that you generate between purchase and sale price. Now, obviously, there are some downsides to this as well. The main one being that you actually have to manage tenants or live with lodgers. But obviously, if you focus on screening your tenants, running their credit reports, getting references from previous landlords, checking their employment history, and also just having a genuine chit chat with them, you'll be able to find out if they're reliable and can pay their rent on time, and actually if you'll get on with them. You might actually make a long-lasting friendship or kind of benefit from this in different ways. But also at the end of the day, because of this, you'll be saving loads of money each month, which means that you'll get onto property number 2 way faster. And also, when you then convert property number 1 into a buy-to-let property and go and live in property number 2, you'll have the benefit of already having amazing tenants, so you won't really need to worry about going through the whole process of finding tenants and worrying if they're reliable or not. Another downside is that unfortunately, no matter how much referencing and credit checks and search of employment history that you do, you won't really find out about a tenant's bad habits. Obviously, a tenant might not have a great habit of doing the washing or folding their laundry properly or taking things away and tidying up. I guess that's something you'll have to deal with, and hopefully you can find a tenant that does have good habits. Obviously, another kind of downside is that you don't always have privacy. Because there's a stranger inside your house, they might walk in or come into the kitchen when you're not ready for them to, or whatever. But I guess that's just something you have to deal with, and I guess just learn to keep to yourself more in your own room. Although, even though there is a stranger in the house, it could work as a bit of a benefit because it just means that you've got an extra layer of security as well. If you're not at home, the tenant might be in your house while you're not there and then can obviously look after the house, or if you've got any pets, make sure they've been fed, and so on and so forth. If you want to learn more about property investing, then feel free to check out some of my other videos. Alternatively, subscribe to the channel and ding the notification bell. That way, you'll be alerted when I upload a new video. Cheers!